Okay, I'm Carlos Valladares. I'm a second year at Yale right now in the PhD in art history and film, and I went to Stanford for my undergrad for film and American Studies. Um, I'm a critic right now, and I'm aspiring, kind of, I guess, in my life to be a film critic, a film professor, and a film director. So like teaching, acting, and well, acting maybe too, but but teaching, direct, making films, and critiquing them all at the same time. And I got one of them
Currently
sorted.
writing, so you are already a critic.
Yes, right. Yes, I write for a couple of public. I wrote for SF Chronicle for a little bit, and like Criterion Collection and N+1 and other places. Film comment. I'm like right now kind of like in an interesting, like, this whole pandemic has kind of caught me in an interesting transition point in terms of like I feel like I've been wanting to get more into what I want to do as like a creative. I mean, like, criticism is creative, like, for sure. Obviously, I think criticism is an art form, and like it just depends on like how your approach of it is. But at the same time, I feel like I do want to do like works that aren't necessarily like in discourse with other extant works, which is what criticism is. And so doing that with like films and like making films, I think has been kind of like the trajectory of my life as I realize it going forward, and just like being obsessed with film and all its different forms. Like I've watched so many films, I think, since like 8th grade, just endlessly, just like I'm just a huge like cinephile, and like watching all the time and like talking about specific shots from movies, or like the lip trace that some person did in a movie and like caught me off guard or whatever. And now I'm like realizing like I want to make that into movies. So like,
When did you first realize that your the synthesis of you engaging with and consuming a lot of media like cinema produced this kind of desire for you to want to make something? And what was your process like of kind of admitting to yourself that it was okay to like do that and go for that? Because that's like a very hard step for a lot of people.
it is, yeah, no, for sure. And it's been completely erratic in terms of like how I watch a film, and like afterwards I'm like, wow, like that's really like I would want to make something like that. But then I go back to, but it's been erratic like that throughout like undergrad. And it was one specific screening actually, which took place this year.
Oh wow.
um,
Okay.
in like late February, just before all this COVID madness came through, where I for my French New Wave class, we watched Francois Truffaut shoot the piano player in 35 millimeter. Like, and we have a really battered but like solid print of that, like that we showed in like the auditorium with a bunch of people in that class. And I was watching it, and like I'd rewatched it before. It's one of my favorite films of all time, and like one of like for a long time it was my favorite Truffaut film. Now there's something else, Two English Girls. But like I was rewatching this and like just being like just like writing my notes, and like, you know, like I got to the point where I'd seen this like 6 or 7 times, and like now I know like the story, so I'm just like focusing on gestures and things like that. And like as I'm writing it, like there was just like an overwhelming emotion that was just like running through me, and I was like, I literally remember just writing, I can't write an essay about this anymore, or any review or anything. I actually need to make a film like in response to this, that is like based off of my life, but also fiction, but also like a response to this, because that's how deep my like love for this film and also other films have gotten to this point.
I want to get into what you're working on and what you're planning. And that's, I think, the main thing we really want to talk about. But quickly, as someone who does writing, but also so like visually oriented, like I found also personally in my work, like there are certain things that I can write, maybe in a poem or in a story or whatever. And there are certain things that I can paint, but various images only make their way into their best forms in certain like different media. And I'm wondering, how do you choose when you write about something or when you think something should be a film shot? How do you make that differentiation in your work? Because I know that you also like kind of combine both of these fields like incredibly well in the stuff that you do.
Right, right. Thank you for that. I would like I think like whenever I'm just like walking down the street, for instance, like I feel like I see like a shot or like I'm listening to music and like I'm already like imagining just a scene. Like I don't even know like it's just like a scene that goes with this music. And I might not even use the music at the end, but like the scene is already existent. And like I feel like a lot of my ideas, fragmented as they are, come out of these very bizarre ad hoc situations. Like I feel like a lot of the times too, they come out of like conversations with friends.
Mm,
And like one of my favorite filmmakers of all time is like Eric Romer, who I
mm,
feel like proved that you don't need like flashy camera movements like David Fincher or like Alfred Hitchcock to like
right,
make a really good cinema. All you need is just like two people who like are debating about their own life, and that's a kind of like action, and that's thrilling to hear.
right.
And I feel like a lot of what I've been kind of like thinking and imagining in terms of my films is that they like all of my films would kind of be in like that takes place in a universe of like characters kind of like Balzac, who like a human comedy, who just like come through in and out of like life, and like it starts like in my age and then they end up in like old age, and like you just see them kind of like grow up like on screen, and like they talk about everything. Like right now I'm just kind of obsessed about getting dialogues between different friends like who come from completely different walks of life, different walks of class and race and different gender identities, and all of this kind of like mishmash of just people just like discoursing and talking and just kind of like butting heads because they don't know what they're saying to one another, or like they don't understand
Right,
what they're saying. But
right.
I think it's exciting, and it's like, and something like that, I think like amongst people our age now, I feel like that's like what's needed, and I don't see it anywhere, and I'm kind of like, can we do something like that? Like, I don't know.
That's literally like the perfect microcosm of life is different individuals butting up against each other and interacting and spurning new like creative processes. Um, so tell me both about the cinematic universe and tell me about the first film in the few minutes we have left.
Yes.
Tell me
Yeah.
everything.
Okay, all of the things. Um, Wait, so the first film, and also what was the other question?
The universe it takes place in.
The universe it takes place. So you're right. So it's a universe, I think, that takes. I mean, it would start within like, I don't know, like a select group of like 6 or 7 people within college, and like they like just like one of the films I kind of imagine would just take place entirely in one dorm, and just like it's sort of like each dorm is like a level, and like you kind of go and like you wander in through different levels, and just people. It's like a very stormy night, and like this person is trying to get a lot of people to go to her poetry reading, and like she's going through and like meeting all of like gathering all of these friends in like one night, and trying to talk with them, and some of them are like really out of it, or like some of them are tripping, or other are like breaking up with their boyfriends or girlfriends or whomever. And it's just kind of like that would lay out the rest of the universe, which would take place, I think, like as with as this central group grows up. She's trying to get like a bunch of her like close friends like together to like come to this poetry reading of hers, and eventually only like 2 people will show up of who she thought were her close friends, and those 2 close friends become like crucial later on in the rest of the universe as I imagine it. But like I think like starting, I think, with like a group of 7 people that I can like draw and on, and like kind of like paint as like complex living human beings, and like you see them in like middle age as they're like struggling through work in their 20s, as they're struggling through drug addictions and habits, as they're struggling through divorces and marriages, and like kids that they don't wanted, and like perfect like romance comedy kind of like situationships and so forth. um and also like like I wouldn't want to limit it also to like current films. Like I would want to have like films in which like it's like a period piece, maybe in like the 1860s, or like like a western, or like the 1960s, kind of like a paranoid political um conspiracy theory thriller kind of thing, but like they're related to like the mother of one of the
Characters.
characters is like the main protagonist in this one, or like the great 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 like grand like father who like what like did the Oregon Trail trip, like who later
You're
become.
gonna you're gonna have to leave everyone hanging because we're out of time. But
damn. Okay. There we
now I
go.
just want more.
There's
So it's
more.
exciting.
Well, I mean, you can subscribe and link, and you can support my Patreon.
There we go. Well, there we go. So thank you for your time. This has been amazing, and I look forward to more conversation, collaboration, magic in the future.
For sure, for sure. I'm so looking forward to it, Katie. Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you.